Diablo 4 has been nerfing dungeons back to back and the community has responded. If you haven't been keeping up with the changes, I made a video yesterday detailing the nerfs and players have a lot to say about the changes and it's getting pretty heated. Also, the Diablo 4 team is hosting its first ever Campfire talk, which differs from the live stream updates to have a chat with the players. And finally, Diablo 4 is being review bombed. Players have a lot to say about the game in these reviews and we'll take a look at them, so let's dive on in. Now on to our first bit of news. We are here on Reddit and we have a post from players responding to those nerfs that we covered in previous videos. If you don't know, I'll have the video down in the description for you to check out, but basically there has been double nerfs on the XP for basically doing dungeons. Not only has the density have been adjusted, but XP is lowering with these adjustments and it's just making leveling much harder. As of right now, this comment has over 7,000 upvotes and we're going to go over it and talk about it. Now the title of this post is Devs, we run dungeons to level up because the XP sucks elsewhere. And the OP starts by saying, seriously, what are you doing? Why do you think so many people keep running dungeons? It's because XP elsewhere sucks and is bad. Now I will have to agree, most things that you do in the world is just terrible XP. The only thing that's semi-okay is the Legion encounters that I do every 15 or 20 minutes whenever it spawns. But overall, like, there is nothing that gives you good XP. Now he continues by saying world bosses, hell ties, nightmare dungeons all need their XP buffed. And this is, in my opinion, very true. Like, you should have to get a lot of XP whenever you're doing these events. Like world bosses, like those are pretty big guys. They'll have very long spawn timers. They should give you a massive amount of XP for killing these massive bosses, because if the game is right now, killing little mobs in dungeons give you more XP than killing a massive world boss that requires coordination that could kill you. It's actually pretty silly. Now the OP continues by saying it's so frustrating having you make it increasingly more difficult to level, especially for solo players. And as I've said before, if you're not playing with a team, leveling as a solo player is just a nightmare, and with these changes it's getting more nightmarish. Don't you think groups being able to enter dungeons and run all different directions to farm XP is a bigger issue? Or group being able to farm 4 different dungeons at once and have all 4 be completed a bigger issue? Unfortunately, the thing I hate about this post is Blizzard seems to like to nerf things rather than like fix things, and I feel like this kind of post is not going to get the attention you want. I think they're just going to end up nerfing this for players rather than increasing, bringing things up. Now the OP continues by saying, I have no issues at all being an MMO light, always online experience. But if you are so adamant that you want people to group up, then add some matchmaking, because it's becoming harder and harder to play this solo. And I have to agree. Basically, you're just playing a gimp game if you're playing solo. And like, I prefer personally to play solo games. That's just how I am. But yeah, the matchmaking would be cool. I mean, I don't need matchmaking, but I mean, honestly, matchmaking isn't the solution. I think the solution is just making it so that XP is like scalable for players who are playing solo. I do think that group play should be rewarded, but a lot of the reward is having multiple players do dungeons with you, having multiple control effects, having the ability to do multiple dungeons and get credit for it. I don't really see the purpose of having group play who have basically all the advantages get more benefit than players who have literally less advantages. It doesn't really make much sense to me. Now there are a few responses to the OP that I want to go over and just give my thoughts on, and starting with this one from Recovery Water. It makes no sense. Diablo 3 went through the same thing. Players demanded more density. They eventually gave in to it in the form of rifts, and it proved hugely popular. Now I kind of have to agree with him on this response. I mean, players want more density. What we play this game for is to kill large packs of monsters, not do these little weird quests to go save some capture or sit in a room that doesn't give you XP or loot, stuff like that. That's just add more mob density. This is what the player base want. We want to kill monsters. Now I did see some takes that people are suggesting that they're going to be adding a rift system to the game, and to me that doesn't really make sense to me, because if you look at how the game is core design, is actually moving away from a rift system and it's moving more towards a path of exile mapping system, where you actually go into the maps, which is a form of rift, and then you complete missions that way. I don't think it's scaled properly or well, but I don't think they're going to be adding a rifting system, because that just doesn't make sense to what the game is going. The impressions that players are saying that they're going to be adding a rift system or something, I think that Diablo 3 had this and this is going to be a Diablo 3 thing, but I do think Diablo 4 is moving past this. And I do think players need to like get it in their heads that this isn't Diablo 3. Some of their bad decisions are like Diablo 3 for sure, but the game itself isn't going to be like Diablo 3 in my opinion. Alright, now shifting gears a little bit, Diablo 4 did announce that they will be doing their Campfire chats. This is going to be a new thing. We're going to read it here. Diablo 4 has been out for a week and there is much to discuss. On June the 16th at 11 a.m., Rod Ferguson, Adam Fletcher, Joe Shelley, and Tiffany will all celebrate our launch and examine feedback on the first ever Campfire chat. Details here. Now we're going to go ahead and go into the details and we're going to look at it. On June the 6th, the gates of hell flung open and players from around the world were thrust directly into the conflict between Inarius and Lilith. Thanks to you, Diablo 4 is now the fastest selling Blizzard game of all time. We want to take the opportunity to express our gratitude directly during our first ever Diablo 4 Campfire chat. Grab your favorite fiery beverage and join Diablo General Manager Rod Ferguson, Game Director Joe Sheely, Associate Production Director Tiffany Watt, and Associate Director of Community Adam Fletcher on June the 16th at 11 a.m. Pacific Time. The team will detail our successful launch, feedback we received from the community, and what's on the horizon for Diablo 4. View from our official Twitch and YouTube. You can go to either of their platforms. And just keep in mind, guys, this is a quick plug. I will be live streaming this on Kick. Yes, Kick, not Twitch or YouTube. So if you want to join me, I'll have a link down in the description as well in the comments for you guys to come follow me on Kick. I will be live streaming on there and watching the gameplay unfold and the Campfire unfold. And it looks like this is going to be something they may do on a semi-regular basis. From what I understand, this is going to be alongside their normal dev updates, which is going to be something just for them to talk to the player base, I guess, because they have been getting a lot of feedback and maybe they're going to take it. We'll have to see. Now on to the final talking point of the day. We're going to be talking about the Metacritic review for Diablo 4. There seems to be a massive disparity between the player base as well as the critic review of the game, and I want to talk about those. So according to the Metascore, right now Diablo 4 is sitting at 88 for a critic review and a 5.9, which is mixed, and a lot of people believe that a lot of players are just review bombing this, and I wanted to go over some of the reviews and maybe talk about them and see if I agree, disagree, or if just players are just review bombing the Diablo 4. Now, after looking at the Metacritic review website, there looks like there has been a lot of players giving it 10s, and then there's a lot of players giving it 0s. And I want to go over some of these just so we can see what was actually going on with the community. So starting off with the first one, we got a review from Vernice, which gave Diablo 4 a 10. Diablo 4 is an exceptional addition to the acclaimed Diablo franchise, a game that has seamlessly blended dark fantasy, intense action, and addictive gameplay. With its immersive world, captivating storyline, and improved mechanics, Diablo 4 sets a new standard for the action role-playing genre. Now, I'm a very avid Diablo 4 player. I absolutely love the game. I think it's a fun game. It has a lot of potential. But I do think this review is from someone who's a little bit more closer towards the shield side of Diablo. The game has not really done anything new for the action role-playing genre. Actually, a lot of what Diablo 4 has introduced was something from Path of Exile, a game that has, in my opinion, added a lot of new things to the game that you see in Diablo 4. Now, maybe this person hasn't actually kept up with any ARPGs besides Diablo 3 for the last decade or so, but to me, this review looks like someone's just basically saying a bunch of nonsense, because while the game did launch with a lot of content that is really good, and I think it has a great base, it doesn't need to be a new standard or innovative or anything like that. I think it just needs to do what works. I will say I don't think that anything that's in Diablo 4 you can't get from other games that are, in my opinion, more refined or better. Now we're going to finish the review out. One of the most impressive aspects of Diablo 4 is its stunning visuals. I think the game looks okay. The game features breathtaking graphics that bring the grim and foreboding world to life. From the hauntingly beautiful landscape to the meticulously detailed character design, every aspect of the game's visuals is a testament to the developers' commitment to deliver an unparalleled gaming experience. Okay, so yeah, this is definitely very, very shilly in terms of the type of review this is. The game looks fine for a 2023 ARPG. It's nothing really that crazy. The bosses look good, the dungeons look fine. I do think this review is definitely just giving it a 10 for the sake of it. But let's go to another review, and as you can see, one review down is a complete 0. Diablo 4, sorry, Diablo Immortal 2 is a product with little creativity that has been stripped of the key elements characteristic of hack and slash and action RPG games. The itemization and crafting system has been taken from the mobile game, which means it's not satisfying for players expecting a deeper, more elaborate experience. So I do have a lot to say about this review, because obviously this player is just either very angry with Blizzard and very likely never played the game, or just I'm not sure, something's not quite right with them. Sorry, Diablo Immortal 2. This is nothing like Diablo Immortal. There's no real pay to win. There's some things that make it easier for you to get into the game early, which I don't agree with, but pay to win, absolutely not. Plus, there's really nothing to win in the game, so that really doesn't even make sense. It says here it has little creativity. I think the game has plenty of creativity, and honestly, it doesn't have to be creative. In a lot of cases, most players actually tend to push back against creativity and tend to like to do what works. And it has been stripped of the key elements, characteristics of hack and slash and action RPG games. That was weirdly worded, but if he ever went into any of the nightmare dungeons in the end game, there is decent density, there is a lot of hack and slash, there is a lot of action. Don't know what this person's talking about. The itemization and crafting system has been taken from a mobile game. Absolutely not. A lot of the crafting system that we see in this game has been in Diablo 3 and or Path of Exile, so which means it's not satisfying for players expecting a deeper, more elaborate experience. There are plenty of games in the genre that absolutely has this, like Path of Exile, Last Epoch, that has a deeper, more elaborate experience. Those games have actually been out for about a decade now. Diablo has been out for a week now, so expecting a deeper experience seems a little bit silly, especially considering the game type that is going to be adding seasonal content. This review makes zero sense. Again, there's a lot of extremes of people absolutely hating the game and extremes of people absolutely ignoring all the bad and shilling for it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments about these reviews. At the moment, it's very hard to find a reasonable review. There just seems to be two extremes when it comes to this, so let's move on. Now, as I said in previous videos, I'm going to actually be taking some of your questions and answering them, or comments and talking about them. So if you do have a comment, feel free to leave it down in the comment section and maybe I'll select it and talk about it in the video. But first, to our first comment, this is from McKinley Gamble. I'm a big fan of competition. Y'all don't find repeating the same dungeons boring? Do people actually watch y'all stream that? Now, I do play a lot of Path of Exile, and if you ever played that game, a lot of the in-game revolves around doing mapping, and it is a bit repetitive. It's actually my least fun thing about doing any game thing in this genre of game, is constantly repeating the same maps and doing stuff like that. But at the same time, I do know that, you know, there's a bigger objective at the end of that game where you actually fight uber bosses and gear up and do things like that. That's what keeps me personally interested. Some people do watch me stream. I'm a small creator. I'm a YouTuber first and then a streamer second. But yeah, some people do watch me stream it, and I really appreciate you guys coming out. My kick is down in the description again. But the thing with Diablo 4 you have to take into account is this game just came out a week ago. Season 1 is within a month of us, so expect more depth to the game. I know a lot of players are upset that a lot of the end game is not very diverse, and a lot of that comes from maybe the more extreme players. But there is a lot coming to the game. I guarantee you within a year from now, you guys will be singing a very different tune on what the game is actually going to be like. So, but yeah, I'm a big fan of competition myself. I don't like repeating the same dungeons, but I can see what the future holds for Diablo 4. The next comment is by Emmanuel Haynes 11. Literally half the player base is not going to make it to level 65, and I'm talking about the average players that play like 2 hours a day, and the ones that speed run, I think he means from 1 to 100. The game is catered to them, not a regular average player. Now, I do have some stuff to say in response to this comment, and I agree and disagree on some of this. I do agree that most players probably won't get to 65, at least within this first like preseason, because, you know, season 1 is very close and it's going to take some time, but I do think a good portion will get to it. Now, the game being centered around players who race from 1 to 100, that's kind of silly. I don't think that's the case. Those players who play a lot are players who are going to discover bugs and exploits, and regardless of how they got it, what they did with it when they got those exploits, they're actually being fixed, and they're actually helping those casual players who only can play 2 days later not have a bad experience in the future. So what happens if those players who didn't rush to 100, didn't show the Edge Master bug or the Berserk ripping bug, and all the casual players finally get to a point in the game or in the season where they get to a point where they actually discover the bug, and it's season 1 and then their aspects are disabled, they can't progress, that's going to be a much worse experience than having some level 100 players who's playing all day, discovering the things that's going to ruin the game, fixing it before the season comes in, and then you guys have to suffer a little bit in the preseason, but it gets fixed by the time you actually get there. This is actually, in my opinion, a positive thing for the game, and I don't really see a problem with the game being adjusted towards the high tier players versus the low tier players who in a lot of cases probably won't even discover anything, and the game will remain broken and untested compared to, you know, the people who actually play a lot. And there you have it, guys. That's it for this video. Like I said previously, if you have any comments you want to, you know, have read on the screen or anything you want to say, feel free to leave it down in the comments. Either way, I'm going to be doing more video updates and keeping you guys up to date on all things Diablo 4. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next Diablo 4 video very soon. Later.